Lack of discipline. What is discipline? Discipline does not mean punishment after a wrong is done. Is it causing? Is it imposition? Does it take away freedom? The answer is none of the above. Discipline does not mean that a person takes off his belt and beats up others. That is madness. Discipline is loving firmness, it is direction, it is prevention before a problem arises. It is a track to run on, it is harnessing and channeling energy for great performance. Discipline is not something you do to others, but something you do for those you care about. Discipline is an act of love. Sometimes we have to be unkind to be kind. Not all medicines are sweet, not all surgeries painless, but we have to take them. We need to learn from nature. We are all familiar with that big animal, the giraffe. A mother giraffe gives birth to a baby giraffe standing. All of a sudden, the baby falls on a hard surface from the cushion of his mother's womb onto the ground. The first thing the mother does is to get behind the baby and give it a hard kick. The baby gets up, but the legs are weak and wobbly, and the baby falls down. The mother goes behind the baby again and gives one more kick. The baby gets up but falls down again. The mother giraffe keeps kicking till the baby is able to get on its feet. Why? Because she knows that the only chance of survival for the baby is to get on its feet. Otherwise, it will be eaten up by predators. My question to you is this an act of love? You bet it, you bet it is. Children brought up in a loving, disciplined environment when they grow up end up respecting their own parents more and become law abiding citizens. The reverse is just as true. If discipline were practiced in every home, juvenile delinquency would be reduced by 95%. Good, good parents are not afraid to enforce discipline because of momentary dislikes by children. Discipline gives freedom. Freedom is not produced by a full enjoyment of what is desired but controlling the desire. There is a misconception that freedom means doing your own thing. One cannot always have what one desires. Many times it is not easy to comprehend the benefits of good values and discipline. It may even seem more profitable, enjoyable, and convenient to do otherwise. All we need to do is see countless instances where lack of discipline has prevented people from succeeding rather than the restraints of discipline pulling us down. Discipline is really taking us up. That is what discipline is all about. A boy was flying a kite with his father and asked him what kept the kite up. Dad replied, the string. The boy said, Dad, it is the string that is holding the kite down. The father asked his son, watch as he broke the string. Guess what happened to the kite? It come down. Isn't that true in life? Sometimes the things that we think are holding us down are the very things that are helping us fly. That is what discipline is all about. I want to be free. We hear this phrase all the time. I want to be free. If you take the train off the track, it is free. But where does it go? If everyone could make their own traffic laws and drive on any side of the road, would you call that freedom or chaos? What is missing is discipline. By observing the rules, we are actually gaining freedom. Discipline is loving firmness. I have asked this question to many participants in my seminars. If your child had a fever of 105 degree and did not want to see the doctor, what would you do? Invariably, they said they would get medical help even if the child resisted and even go to the extent of forcing him physically. Why? Because it is in the best interest of the child. What is so different in giving the right values in life? Parenting is not a popularity contest. There are only two relationships in life that care to correct. The rest of the world punishes. Which are the two relationships? Only parents and teachers in life care to correct. The world punishes. A judge, when sentencing a man for robbery, asked if he had anything to say. The man replied, "Yes, Your Honor. Please sentence my parents to jail also." The judge asked why. The robber answered, "When I was a little boy, I stole a pencil from school. My parents knew about it but never said a word. Then I stole a pen. They knowingly ignored it. I continued to steal many other things from the school and the neighborhood till it became an obsession. They knew about it, yet they never said a word. If anyone belongs in jail with me, they do. He is right, although it does not absolve him of his own responsibility. The question is, did the parents do their job right? Obviously not. If we analyze one step further, the robber actually paid for the carelessness, negligence, negligence, irresponsible behavior of his parents. Giving choices to children is important, but choices without direction results in disaster. Complete mental and physical preparation is the result of sacrifice and self-discipline. Parents spend an average of 15 minutes a week in meaningful dialogue with their children. The balance is spent gleaning values from peers and TV. Ask yourself without discipline, can a captain run a ship effectively? Can an athlete win a game? Can a violinist play well at a concert? The answer is, of course, not. To each of the above questions, why then do we question today whether discipline is necessary in matters of personal conduct or to achieve an standard? It is, it is absolutely necessary. Today the philosophy is, if it feels good, do it. I have heard parents naively saying, "I don't care what my kids do, so long as it makes them happy. That is all that matters." I ask them, "Wouldn't you want to know what makes them happy? If beating people up on the streets and taking their things away are what make them happy, there is a word in the English language for them. It is called perversion." How and where we derive our happiness from is just as important as the happiness itself. It, it is a result of our values, discipline, and responsibility. Feeling good is a natural outcome of being good, and doing good is a natural outcome of being good. We keep hearing, "Do what you like." The reverse is just as true. Like what you do. Many times we need to do what ought to be done whether we like it or not. A mother comes home after a long day's work, takes care of the household chores, looks after the baby, and goes to sleep exhausted. In the middle of the night, the baby cries. Does mama feel like getting up? No, but she gets up anyway. Why? For three reasons: love, duty, responsibility. We cannot live our lives by emotions alone. We need to add discipline regardless of age. Winning in life comes when we do not succumb to what we want to do, but do what ought to be done, and that requires discipline. Labeling and put downs. Constant put downs and negative criticism destroys self confidence and leads to low self esteem. Have you heard some parents sometimes playfully, affectionately, or sometimes angrily call their kids stupid, idiot, dummy, duffer? The child keeps looking at the parents and teachers as authority figures, and they keep saying, "You stupid, idiot, dummy, duffer." The child thinks, because my parents know more than I do, and if mom or dad says I'm stupid, I must be stupid. Labels stick for life. When the kids grow up, they will make sure to prove the parents right. Labels not only stick for life, but they stick for generations. The caste system in India is a prime example of how labeling can hurt and lead the society to self destruction. Is there anything known as upper caste or lower caste? The answer is they are all labels. Common put downs, labels parents use for their kids. You are dumb. You never do anything right. You will never amount to anything. You are totally useless. You are stupid or an idiot. You are good for nothing. Teaching the wrong values. Whenever we go against our value system, our self esteem goes down. The magic of self esteem is that whenever we do something positive in life, even if no one is watching, we rise above the little bit in our own eyes. Whenever we do something wrong, like lying, stealing, cheating, even if no one is watching, we fall down a little bit in our own eyes. Many times, inadvertently and innocently, we end up teaching wrong values within our families and organizations. For example, we tell our children or staff to lie for us. Tell them I'm not here. Tell them the check is in the mail when actually it is not. We all look to our parents, teachers, and supervisors to teach us integrity, and many times we are disappointed. Practicing these petty lies turns a person into a professional liar, and we teach others to lie for us. A day will come when they will lie to us too. For example, a secretary calls in sick and she really wants to go shopping. Maybe the boss gave her enough practice lying for him that she has become an expert in lying to him. Every time a person lies and teaches his children to lie, they fall down a little bit in their own eyes. Their self esteem goes down and the inferiority complex goes up. Only the first lie is difficult, the second becomes easier, and the third and fourth are easier still, and so on. Very soon they become accomplished liars. It is seen that people who lie also steal. Steps to building a positive self esteem. Step 1. Read biographies and autobiographies of successful people who have turned their weakness into strength. Read the life stories of people who have turned a negative into positive, adversity into advantage, stumbling blocks into stepping stones. They refuse to let disappointment and failures pull them down. Some of the best music was composed by Beethoven. What was his handicap? He was deaf. Some of the best poetry on nature was written by Milton. What was his handicap? He was blind. One of the greatest world leaders was US President Franklin D. Roosevelt. What was his handicap? He served from a wheelchair. The Wilma Rudolph story. Wilma Rudolph was born into a poor home in Tennessee. At age 4, she had double pneumonia with scarlet fever, a deadly combination which left her paralyzed with polio. She had to wear a brace, and the doctor said she would never be able to put her foot on the ground. But her mother encouraged her. She told Wilma that with God given ability, persistence, and faith, she could do anything she wanted. Wilma said, I want to be the fastest woman on the track on this earth. At the age of 9, against the advice of the doctors, she removed the brace and took the first step the doctors had said she never would. At the age of 13, she entered her first race and came way last, and then she entered her second, and third and fourth, and came way last until a day came when she came in first. At the age of 15, she went to Tennessee State University where she met a coach by the name of Ed Temple. She told him, I want to be the fastest woman on the track on this earth. Temple said, with your spirit With your spirit, nobody can stop you, and besides, I will help you. The day came when she was at the Olympics, and at the Olympics, you are matched with the best of the best. Vilma was matched against a woman named who had never been beaten. The first event was the 100-meter race. Vilma beat and who won and won her first gold medal. The second event was the 200-meter race and Vilma beat a second time and won her second gold medal. The third event was the 400-meter relay and she was racing against one more time. In the relay, the fastest person always runs the last lap and they both anchored their teams. The first three people ran and changed the baton easily. When it came to Wilma's turn, she dropped the baton. Wilma saw shot up at the other end. She picked the baton, ran like a machine, beat a third time, and won her third gold medal. It became history that a paralytic woman became the fastest woman on this earth at the 1960 Olympics. What a lesson to be learned from Wilma. It teaches us that successful people in do it in spite of, not in the absence of problems. When we hear or read real life stories of real people who have turned a negative into a positive, does it not motivate us? If we regularly read biographies and autobiographies of such people, won't we stay motivated? Step 2. Learn intelligent ignorance. Education teaches us what we can do and also teaches us what we cannot do. I'm looking for a lot of men with an infinite capacity for not knowing what cannot be done. Henry Ford gave this world the V8 engine. He did not have much formal education. In fact, he did not go to school beyond the age of 14. He was intelligent enough to know that a V8 engine would be of great value to his company, but he didn't know how to build it. So he asked all his highly educated or qualified people to build one. According to them, a V8 was impossible to build, but Henry Ford insisted on having his V8. A few months later, he asked his people if they had the V8 and they replied, "We know what can be done, and we also know what cannot be done." The V8 is an impossibility. This went on for many months, and still Henry Ford said, "I want my V8." And shortly thereafter, the same people who said it was impossible produced the V8 engine. Why? They let their imaginations run beyond academic limitation. Education teaches us what can be done and sometimes also teaches us what cannot be done. Formal education teaches us our potential and many times it also teaches us our limitations. Do something for others who cannot repay you in cash or kind. Dr. Carl Menninger, a world renowned psychiatrist, was once asked, "What would you advise someone if you knew that person was going to have a nervous breakdown?" The audience expected Dr. Menninger to advise consulting a professional, but he didn't. He said, "I would advise that person to go to the other side of town, find someone in need, and help that person. By doing that, we get out of our own way. A lot of times we get in our own way, don't we? Be a volunteer. It builds self worth. Helping others by the process of giving without having expectations or getting anything in return gives a feeling of gratification and raises one's self esteem. Learn to give and receive compliments. Don't miss out on any opportunity to give sincere compliments. Remember, the key word is sincerity. It makes a person feel good and their self esteem goes up. When others give you a compliment, accept it graciously. and gracefully with two words, thank you. Be grateful that they feel you are worthy of it. That is a sign of humility. Accept responsibility. We need to accept responsibility for our thoughts, behavior, and actions, and insulate ourselves from excuses. Don't be like the student who failed just because he didn't like the teacher or the subject. When we don't accept responsibility, who are we hurting the most? Obviously, ourselves. We need to accept responsibility and stop blaming others. Then, and only then, we will productivity and quality of life improve. Our privileges can be no greater than our obligations. The protection of our rights can endure no longer than the performance of our responsibilities. Excuses make the problem worse than the problem itself. We owe responsibility to self, to society, to family, to work, to the environment. On a daily basis, we need to do something that makes this world a better place to live. We are custi- cus- custodians for the future generations. If we do not behave responsibly, can future generations forgive us? If the average life expectancy of a person is 75 years, and if you are 40 years old, you have 365 days into 35 years to live. Ask yourself this question: what are you going to do with this time? When we accept or aid responsibility, we make ourselves more valuable. Practice discipline. Self discipline does not take away but gives joy. You see people with talent and ability, and yet they are unsuccessful. They are frustrated, and the same behavior pattern affects their business, their health, their relationships with others. They are dissatisfied and blame it on lack or something outside themselves without realizing that many problems are caused by their own lack of discipline. If we discipline ourselves, others won't have to. If we don't, others will. Self discipline enhances self worth. Self discipline may be painful in the short run but tremendously gainful in the long run. Set goals. Well defined goals give a person a sense of direction and a feeling of accomplishment when he reaches his goals. More important than goals is a sense of purpose and vision. They give meaning and fulfillment to life. What we become is more important than what we get upon achieving our goals. It is the process of becoming that gives us a good feeling. That is what self esteem is all about. In goal setting, we need to be realistic. Unrealistic goals remain unaccomplished, leading to low self esteem, whereas realistic goals are encouraging and build high self esteem. Associate with people of high moral character. A person's character is judged not only by the company they keep but also the company they avoid. Associate yourself with people of good quality if you esteem your reputation, for it is better to be alone than to be in bad company. Test of friendship. Many times, negative influences come in the form of false friendship and peer pressure. People get you involved in something wrong by saying, "Aren't you my friend?" When you get involved in something wrong by giving in to peer pressure, and then when you are in trouble, guess where will they be? Nowhere close. If they don't have character today, where are they going to get character from tomorrow? That's the question. Remember, true friends never want to see their friends hurt. What starts as friendship may be in reality a test of friendship. Associating with people of high moral character helps build self esteem. It is common to see people doing wrong things to get accepted. saying it is cool, not realizing that they will be left cold. Peer pressure. When the desire to belong to the herd becomes stronger than the desire to stand up for what is right, it is evident that what is lacking is courage and character. Going along to get along appears to be a safer path by keeping one's peers happy. That is where people with high self esteem draw the line. That is what separates the men from the boys. Examples: school kids conform because they do not want to be laughed at. Students don't give answers in class because others will make fun of them. Factory workers keep performance low to keep peers happy. Everything within limits is okay, is it? Many people say moderation is okay, everything within limits is okay. My question is it really okay? Is cheating within limits okay? Is lying within limits okay? Is stealing within limits okay? Is drugs within limits okay? Is smoking within limits okay? Is adultery within limits okay? Is HIV within limits okay? Some things are just not okay. Some people frequently rationalize, I'll try a little and quit, or I can quit anytime or whenever I want. They don't realize that it always starts with the first one. Negative influences start as weak threads. They become chains too strong to be broken. Become internally driven, not externally driven. No one can make you feel inferior without your permission. There is a story about an ancient Indian sage who was abused and called ugly names by an angry passerby. The sage listened unperturbed till the man ran out of words. The student of the sage got rather perturbed and asked the sage, "Why did you not give him a befitting reply?" The sage asked the student, "If an offering is not accepted, who does it belong to?" The student replied, "It belongs to the person who offered it." The sage said, "I refuse to accept his offering," and the sage walked away calmly, leaving the student dazed. The sage was internally driven. So long as we blame outside sources, our miseries will continue and we will feel helpless. Unless we accept responsibility for our feelings and behavior, we cannot change. The first step is to ask, why did I get upset? Why am I depressed? Why am I angry? And then we start getting the clues to overcome them. Develop a mindset that brings happiness. Happiness is a result of positive self esteem. If you ask people what makes them happy, you will get all kinds of answers. Most of them would include material things, but that is not really true. Happiness comes from being and not having. One can have everything in life and yet not be happy. The reverse is also true. Happiness is internal. Happiness is like a butterfly. If you run after it keeps flying away. If you stand still, it comes and sits on your shoulder. Bitterness is a sign of emotional failure. If paralyzes our capacity, it paralyzes our capacity to do good. Set your own standards. Be honest to yourself. Compete against yourself. Do the following. Look for the positive in every person and in every situation. Resolve to be happy. Set your own standards judiciously. Develop an immunity to negative criticism. Learn to find pleasure in every little thing. Remember, all times are not the same. Ups and downs are part of life. Make the best of every situation. Keep yourself constructively occupied. Help others less fortunate than yourself. Learn to get over things. Don't brood. Forgive yourself and others. Don't hold guilt or bear grudges. Give yourself positive auto suggestions. Autosuggestions are positive statements of the kind of person you want to be or the things you want to have or do. Develop the habit of giving yourself positive self talk. Autosuggestions alter your belief system by influencing your subconscious mind. Your behavior reflects your belief system. Hence, autosuggestions affect your behavior by influencing your belief system. It becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. Examples: I can handle it. I'm good at math. I can do it. I have a good memory. Turn your weakness into strength. Our greatest strength can become our greatest weakness. And strength overextended becomes a weakness. For example, in sales, good speaking ability is a strength. It is not uncommon to see salespeople with good speaking ability talk themselves into a sale, then talk too much and talk themselves right out of the sale. Their strength got them into it. However, overextended, it becomes a weakness and they lose the sale. Listening is a strength. Overextended, however, it could mean that a person listens a lot but does not speak enough. It becomes a weakness. Our greatest weakness can become our greatest strength. Anger is a weakness. How can it be turned into a strength? One lady demonstrated by getting mad. MAD stands for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. This woman lost her child because of a drunk driver. She got so angry that she resolved that society should not tolerate this kind of irresponsible behavior. She organized people all over the United States to fight drunk driving. She and her association, with thousands of members, became a significant force and succeeded in their pursuit to change legislation in Congress and various state legislatures. That is an example of turning a negative emotion like anger into strength by doing positive. She converted her anger into resolution. Have patience. Patience creates confidence. Dece- decisive, decisiveness, decisiveness, and a rational outlook, which eventually leads to success. Many times people go through motivational programs or read books and get all charged up and they put learning into practice but don't see immediate results. They get disheartened and they give up. Then we hear people saying that one exposure to a positive or a negative material does not have any impact. That is not true. The difference may not be visible, but something is happening. In China, there is a bamboo tree that is planted, watered, and fertilized for the first 4 years, and nothing happens. There is no visible sign of growth. But sometime during the fifth year, the bamboo tree grows about 90 feet in 6 weeks. The question is, did the bamboo tree grow in 6 weeks or did it take 5 years to grow? If the bamboo had not received water and fertilizer during the 4 years, when there was no visible sign of growth, would the plant have flourished? No. The bamboo tree would have died. The lesson is clear. Have patience and faith and keep doing the right thing. Even though the results may not be visible, something is happening. Question. We must distinguish between patience and laziness. Sometimes a person may be sheer lazy, but they might think that they are being patient. A good beginning makes a good ending. Take inventory. Make a list of all your strengths and weaknesses. Successful people realize their limitations but focus on their strengths. Failures recognize their strengths but focus on their limitations. Unless we know what our strengths and weaknesses are, how can we build on our strengths and overcome weaknesses? The crux of self esteem cannot be expressed better than in the following words by Abraham Lincoln. World, my son starts school today. World, take my child by the hand. he starts school today. It is all going to be strange and new to him for a while, and I wish you would sort of treat him gently, Lucy. Up to now, he has been king of the roost. He has been the boss of the backyard. I have always been around to repair his wounds, and I have always been handy to soothe his feelings. But now things are going to be different. This morning, he is going to walk down the front steps, wave his hand, and start on a great adventure that probably will include wars and tragedy and sorrow. To live in this world will require faith and love and courage. So, world, I wish you would sort of take him by his young hand and teach him the things he will have to know. Teach him, but gently if you can. He will have to learn, I know, that all people are not just, that all men and women are not true. Teaching that for every scoundrel there is a hero, that for every enemy there is a friend. Let him learn early that the bullies are the easiest people to live. Teach him the wonder of books, give him quiet time to ponder the eternal mystery of birds in the sky, bees in the sun, and flowers on a green hill. Teach him that it is far more honorable to fail than to cheat. Teach him to have faith in his own ideas, even if everyone tells him they are wrong. Try to give my son the strength not to follow the crowd when everyone else is getting on the bandwagon. Teach him to listen to others but to filter all he hears on a screen of truth and to take only the good that comes through. Teach him never to put a price tag on his heart and soul. Teach him to close his ears on the whole howling mob and to stand and fight if he thinks he is right. Teach him gently, well, but do not coddle him because only the taste of fire makes the fine steel. This is a big order, world, but see what you can do. He is such a nice son. Interpersonal, interpersonal skills, building a pleasing personality. Technology and techniques you can always buy with money, but the wealthiest person must build relationships. I will pay more for the ability to deal with people than for any other ability under the sun. All over the world, we find that we don't have business problems. We have people problems. When we when we take care of our people problems, most of our business problems are automatically resolved. Why do people deal with us? They deal with us not because we are the we are the smartest people. They deal with us because they are comfortable dealing with us. What gives them the level of comfort? People don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. It is never the tangible that connects people. It is always the intangible, which is called the X factor. The question is, how do you build that X factor? People knowledge is more important than product knowledge. Successful people build pleasing and magnetic personalities, which is what makes them charismatic. This helps in getting friendly or cooperation from others. A pleasing personality is easy to recognize but hard to define. It is apparent in the way a person walks and talks, his tone of voice, the warmth in his behavior, and his definitive level of confidence. A pleasing personality is a combination of a person's attitude, behavior, and expressions. You will never lose your attractiveness regardless of age when the path of your personality flows both from your face and your heart. Wearing a pleasant expression is more important than anything else you wear. It takes a lot more than a show of shine and a manicure to give a person polish. Charming manners that disguise a poor character may work in the short run, but character reveals itself rather quickly. Relationships based on talent and personality alone, without character, make life miserable. Charisma without character or personality without character is like good looks without goodness and becomes irritating after some time. The bottom line is that is a lasting, winning combination requires both character and charisma. Be courteous to all, but intimate with a few, and let those few be well tried before you give them your confidence. True friendship is a plant of slow growth and must undergo and withstand the shocks of adversity before it is entitled to the appellation. Life is a boomerang. Just the way a boomerang comes back, we get back in line what we give to others. Benjamin Franklin said, when you are good to others, you are best to yourself. Whether it is your thoughts, actions, or behavior, sooner or later they return. And with great accuracy, treat people with respect on your way because you, you will be meeting them on your way down. The following stories taken from the best of bits and pieces. Many years ago, two boys were making their way through Stanford University. Their funds got desperately low, and the idea came to them to engage legacy painter Rusty for a piano recital. They would use the funds to help pay their board and tuition. The great pianist's manager asked for a guarantee of $2,000. The guarantee was a lot of money in those days, but the boys agreed and proceeded to promote the concert. They worked hard only to find that they had grossed only 1600. After the concert, the two boys told the great artist who bought the bad news. They gave him the entire along with a promissory note for 400 explaining that they would earn the amount at the earliest possible moment and send the money to him. It looked like the end of their college careers. No, boys, replied Pedro Whiskey, that won't do. Then tearing the note into he returned the money to them as well. Now he told them, take out of this all of your expenses and keep for each of you 10% of the balance for your work. Let me have the rest. The years rolled by. World War First came and went. Peter Musky, now Premier of Poland, was striving to feed thousands of starving people in his native land. The only person in the world who could help him was Herbert Hoover, in charge of the US Food and Relief Bureau. Hoover responded, and soon thousands of tons of food were sent to Poland. After the starving people were freed, Peter Disney to Paris to thank Hoover for the relief sent to him. That's all right, Mr. Petersky was Hoover's reply. Besides, we don't remember it, but you helped me once when I was a student at college and I was in trouble. Compensations of life that no man can sincerely try to help another without helping himself. Goodness has a way of coming back. That is the nature of the beast. One does not have to do good with the desire to get back. In fact, when goodness is done with ulterior The biggest hurdle in building a positive relationship is ego. Ego is self intoxicating. Ego is an unhealthy pride that resides in arrogance. Healthy pride is a feeling of the pleasure of accomplishment with humility. Ego gives a swollen head while pride gives a swollen heart. A big head gives a big headache, whereas a big heart gives humility. No matter what the size of a person's accomplishments are, there is never any excuse for having a big head. Ego, but I know it all edited. When ego-centered to an ego-centered person, the world begins, ends, and revolves around him. An egotist person may have a weird sense of humor. A boss asked one of his employees how badly he wanted a raise. The employee said, "Really badly. I have been praying to God for one." The boss replied, "You are not going to get it because you went over my head." An egotist talks down to and looks down on others. Egotism is the anesthetic that deadens the pain of stupidity. What is the difference between selfishness and self interest? It is important to understand the distinction between selfishness and self interest. Selfishness is based on the principle for me to win if the world has to lose. It's okay, whereas self interest says for me to win, the world does not have to lose. We can both win together. Selfishness is negative and destructive. It destroys relationships because it is based on negative values. It believes in the win lose principle. Self interest is positive. Self interest believes in win win situations. One should have an open mind rather than an empty mind. What is the difference between an open mind and an empty mind? An open mind is flexible, it evaluates and may accept or reject ideas and concepts based on merit. An empty mind, an empty mind is a dumping ground. It accepts without evaluation. If someone dumped garbage inside your house, would you tolerate it? You would not only make them clean up the mess, but you would possibly penalize them and make sure they never repeat it again. This is about throwing garbage in the house. Doesn't the same principle apply when people dump garbage into our minds? Why do we allow others to dump garbage into our minds, either in person or through the media? Why don't we insulate ourselves from such garbage in order to maintain cleanliness and positivity? Not let others pollute your mind. We see things not the way they are, but the way we are. According to a legend, a wise man was sitting outside his village when a traveler came up and asked, "I'm looking to move from a present village. What kind of people live in this village?" The wise man asked, "What kind of people live in your village?" The man said, "They are mean, cruel, rude." The wise man replied, "The same kind of people live in this village too." After some time, another traveler came by and asked the same question, and the wise man asked him, "What kind of people live in your village?" And the traveler replied, "The people are very kind, courteous, polite, and good." The wise man said, "You will find the same kind of people here too. We see the world not the way it is, but the way we are." Can we change other people's behavior? We cannot change other people's behavior towards us, but most of the time we find that other people's behavior is reactionary to our behavior towards them. By changing our behavior, we can influence their behavior towards us. Build a positive personality, simple but effective steps. Personality opens the doors, character keeps it open. Step 1. Accept responsibility. Responsibilities gravitate to the person who can shoulder them. When people accept additional responsibility, they are actually giving themselves a promotion. Responsible behavior is to accept accountability that represents maturity. Acceptance of responsibility is a reflection of our attitude and the environment we operate in. Most people are quick to take credit for what goes right, but very few would readily accept responsibility when things go wrong. A person who does not accept responsibility is not absolved from being responsible. Your objective is to cultivate responsible behavior. Stop the blame game. Avoid phrases such as everyone else does it or no one does it or it is all your fault. People who don't accept responsibility shift the blame to their parents, teachers, genes, God, fate, luck, or the stars. Responsible behavior should be inculcated right from childhood. It cannot be taught without a certain degree of obedience. Johnny said, Mama, Jimmy broke the window. Mama asked, how did he do it? Johnny replied, I threw a stone at him and he ducked. People who use their privileges without accepting responsibility usually end up losing their privileges. Responsibility involves thoughtful action. Pettiness causes us to ignore our responsibility. Think about it. Petty minds are busy passing the buck rather than doing what needs to be done. Social responsibility. Ancient Indian wisdom teaches us that our first responsibility is to society, second to our family, and third to ourselves. When this hierarchy is reversed, a society starts degenerating. Social responsibility ought to be the moral obligation of every citizen. Responsibility and freedom go hand in hand. The sign of a good citizen is that he is willing to pull his own weight. The price of greatness is responsibility. Societies are not destroyed so much activity by the activities of rascals, by the inactivity of the good people. What a paradox. If they were really good, would they be inactive? Or are they rascals just labeled as good? If good people can tolerate destruction by being inactive, how can they be good? For evil to flourish, good people have to do nothing and evil shall flourish. Show consideration. A 10-year-old boy went to an ice cream shop, sat at a table and asked the waitress, how much is an ice cream cone? She said 75 cents. The boy started counting the coins he had in his hand. Then he asked how much a small cup of ice cream was. The waitress impatiently replied, 65 cents. The boy said, I will have the small ice cream cup. The boy ate his ice cream, paid the bill, and left. When the waitress came to pick up the empty plate, she was touched. Underneath were 10 1-cent coins left as the tip. The young boy had consideration for the waitress before he ordered his ice cream. He showed sensitivity and caring. He thought of others before himself. If we all thought like the little boy, we would have a great place to live. Show consideration, courtesy, and politeness. Thoughtfulness shows a caring attitude. Think win-win. A man died and Saint Peter asked him if he would like to go to heaven or hell. The man asked if he could see both before deciding. Saint Peter took him to hell first. There the man saw a big hall containing a long table laden with many kinds of food. He also saw rows of people with pale, sad faces. They looked starved and there was no laughter. And he observed one more thing. Their hands were tied to 4 foot long forks and knives, and they were trying to get the food from the center of the table to put into their mouths, but they couldn't. Then Saint Peter took him to see heaven. There he saw a big hall with a long table with lots of food. He noticed rows of people on both sides of the table with their hands tied to 4 foot forks and knives also. But the people were laughing and were well fed and healthy looking. The people realizing that they could not feed themselves with 4 feet forks were feeding one another across the table. The result was happiness, enjoyment, and gratification because they were not thinking of themselves alone. They were thinking win-win. The same is true of our lives. When we serve our customers, our families, our employers, and employees, we automatically win. Choose your words carefully. A person who says whatever he likes usually ends up hearing what he doesn't like. Be tactful. Tact consists of choosing one's words carefully and knowing how far to go. It also means knowing what to say and what to leave unsaid. Talent without tact may not always be desirable. Words reflect attitude. Words can hurt feelings and destroy relationships. More people have been hurt by an improper choices of words than by any natural disaster. Choose what you say rather than say what you choose. That is the difference between wisdom and foolishness. Excessive talking does not mean communication. Talk, talk less, say more. A fool speaks without thinking. A wise man thinks before speaking. Words spoken out of bitterness can cause irreparable damage. The way parents speak to their children in many instances shapes their children's destiny. Spoken words can't be retrieved. A farmer slandered his neighbor. Realizing his mistake, he went to the preacher to ask for forgiveness. The preacher told him to take a bag of feathers and drop them in the center of town. The farmer did as he was told. Then the preacher asked him to go and collect the feathers and put them back in the bag. The farmer tried but couldn't, as the feathers had all blown away. When he returned with the empty bag, the preacher said, "The same thing is true about your words. You dropped them rather easily, but you cannot retrieve them. You need to be very careful in choosing your words. Something commonly used but very profound is lost time. A fired bullet and spoken words cannot be retrieved. Words can make or break life. Don't criticize and complain. When I talk of criticism, I refer to negative criticism. When a person is criticized, he becomes defensive. A critic is often like a back seat driver who drives the driver mad. Does that mean we should never criticize, nor give constructive criticism? Constructive criticism. How do you offer constructive criticism? Some suggestions for giving criticism that motivates others. Be a coach. Criticize with a helpful attitude. Be specific rather than saying things like you always or you never. Get your facts right. Don't be sarcastic as it builds resentment. If criticism is given appropriately, it will reduce the need for repetition. Criticize in private, not in public. Show them a benefit from correcting. Point out the loss from not correcting it. Criticize the performance, not the performer. Don't express personal resentment. Keep criticism in perspective. Don't overdo it. Close on a positive note with appreciation. Receiving criticism. There will be times when you will be criticized and inability to accept constructive criticism is a sign of poor self-esteem. Suggestions for accepting criticism. Take it in the right spirit. Deal with it graciously rather than grudgingly. Evaluate it with an open mind. If it makes sense, accept it. Learn from it and implement it. Don't be defensive. Accept constructive criticism immediately and emphatically. Take the person who gives constructive criticism. A person with high self esteem accepts positive criticism and becomes better, not better. Don't be a permanent complainer. Complain, yes, but don't become a permanent complaining personality. If you don't get good food at the hotel, of course, you must complain, but don't become a permanent complainer. Some people are chronic complainers. It becomes a personality trait. They complain no matter what to them. If it is hot, it is too hot. If it is cold, it is too cold. If it is raining, it is too wet. To them, every day is a bad day. They complain no matter what. Even when things are going perfectly right, they still find something to complain about. Why should one not be a permanent complainer? Because 50% of the people don't care that you have a problem, and the other 50% are happy that you do have a problem. What is the point of complaining? In fact, a chronic complainer spends half his life at the customer service counters. Smile and be kind. A smile costs nothing, but it creates much. It enriches those who receive it without impoverishing those who give it. It happens in a flash, and the memory of it may last forever. It creates happiness in the home, fosters goodwill in a business, and is the counter sign of friends. It is rest to the weary and nurtures best antidote for trouble. In the course of the day, some of your acquaintances may be too tired to give you a smile. Give them one of yours. Cheerfulness flows from goodness. A smile can be fake or genuine. The key is to have a genuine one. It takes more muscles to frown than to smile. It is easier to smile than frown. It improves face value. Who likes to be around a crowd? No one except maybe a bigger crowd. A smile is contagious and is an inexpensive way to improve looks. A smiling face is always welcome. Put a positive interpretation on others people's behavior. Always start a relationship on a positive note. Give the other person the benefit of doubt. Example: how often have you put through a call and not received a reply for 2 days? They tried but couldn't got through. Left the message and you never got it. There could be many reasons. It is worth giving the benefit of doubt to the other person and start on a positive note. Some people suffer from paranoia. They think the world is out to get them. That is not true. By starting with positive assumptions, we have a better chance of building a pleasing personality resulting in good relationships. Be a good listener. Why is listening important? Listening shows care. When you show a caring attitude towards another person, you make the other person feel important. When he feels important, what happens? He is more motivated and more receptive to your ideas. Good listening brings people together. It solidifies relationships and avoids misunderstanding. Be enthusiastic. Nothing great is ever achieved without enthusiasm. Enthusiasm and success go hand in hand, but enthusiasm comes first. Enthusiasm inspires confidence, raises morale, builds loyalty, and is priceless. Enthusiasm is contagious. We can feel enthusiasm by the way a person talks, walks, or shakes hands. Enthusiasm is a habit that one can acquire and practice. Many decades ago, Charles Schwab, who was earning a salary of $1 million a year, was asked if he was being paid such a high salary because of his exceptional ability to produce steel. Charles Schwab replied, I consider my ability to arouse enthusiasm among the men the greatest asset I possess, and the way to develop the best that is in a man is by appreciation and encouragement. Live while you are alive. Don't die before you are dead. Enthusiasm and desire are what change mediocrity to excellence. Water turns into steam with a difference of only 1 degree in temperature, and steam can move some of the biggest engines in the world. That is what enthusiasm helps you to do in your life. Give honest and sincere appreciation. The psychologist William James said, one of the deepest desires of human beings is the desire to be appreciated. The feeling of being unwanted is hurtful. Sincere appreciation is one of the greatest gifts one can give to another person. Why is appreciation important? It makes a person feel important. Their self-esteem goes up. It makes them feel good. It brings them closer. The desire to feel important is one of the greatest cravings in most human beings. It can be a great motivator. The biggest disease today is not leprosy or tuberculosis, but rather the feeling of being unwanted. Typically, as parents, Typically, as parents, teachers, supervisors, we say, you did a good job and go away without being specific, and we think we have given appreciation. Just evaluate. Appreciation, in order to be effective, must meet the following criteria. It must be specific. When I say the way you handled that difficult customer under time pressure was great, then he knows what he is being appreciated for. It must be sincere. It must come from the heart. You must mean every word. It is better not to appreciate if you don't mean it, because insincerity comes through. It must be immediate. The effectiveness is diluted. If you show our appreciation for someone 6 months after he has done something commendable, don't qualify praise with a but. By using the but as a connector, we erase the appreciation use, and in addition to that, or some other appropriate connector. Instead of saying I appreciate your effort, but say something like I appreciate your effort, and would you please. After giving appreciation, it is not important to wait for a receipt or acknowledgement. Some people are looking for a compliment in return. That is not the purpose of appreciation. If you are receiving appreciation, accept it graciously with a thank you. It is far easier for people to deal with honest rejection than insincere appreciation. At least the person knows where he stands. Don't miss out any opportunity to give sincere appreciation. It builds the other person's self-esteem, and automatically your own self-esteem goes up. Public appreciation is recognition. Caution. Without clear benchmarks, public appreciation may cause resentment in people with low self-esteem. What is the difference between appreciation and flattery? The difference is sincerity. One comes from the heart, the other from the mouth. One is sincere and the other has an ulterior motive. Some people find it easier to flatter than to give sincere praise. Don't flatter or get taken in by flatterers. It is an old maxim in the schools that flattery is full of fools, yet now and then you men of wit will condescend to take a word. Remember, the key word in sincere appreciation is sincerity. If it is not sincere, don't give it. People can smell a fake and it will come back to haunt you. Insincere appreciation is like a mirage in the desert, desert. The closer you get, the more disappointed you become because it is nothing more than an illusion. People put up in front of sincerity as a cover. When you make a mistake, accept it and move on. A great philosopher said, when I am wrong, make me easy to change. And when I am right, make me easy to live with. This is a great philosophy to live by. Some people live and learn, while others live and never learn. Mistakes are to be learned from. The greatest mistake a person can make is to repeat it. Don't assign blame. When you realize your mistake, immediately accept it and apologize for it. Don't drag it, don't deny it, don't dodge it, don't dwell on it. Don't defend it. Why? Because it takes a big person to accept a mistake. Acceptance disarms the other person. Acceptance of mistake should be sincere, not fake. Some people apologize because they mean it, whereas others apologize as a tactic to buy time. The key to a positive personality is to accept one's mistake sincerely. Discuss but don't argue. Have you noticed that there are some argumentative personalities? Being argumentative comes naturally to them. It does not matter which side you are on, they are permanently on the other side. Arguments can be avoided and a lot of heartache prevented by being a little careful. The best way to win an argument is to avoid it. An argument is one thing you will never win. If you win, you lose. If you lose, you lose. If you win an argument but lose a good job, customer, friend, or marriage, what kind of victory is it? Pretty empty. Discuss, yes. Argue, no. Arguments result from inflated ego. Argument is like fighting a losing battle. Even if one wins, the cost may be more than the victory is worth. Emotional battles leave a residual will even if you win. In an argument, both people are trying to have the last word. An argument is nothing more than a battle of egos and results in a yelling contest. A bigger fool than the one who knows it all is the one who argues with him. Is it worth it? The more arguments you win, the fewer friends you have. Even if you are right, is it worth arguing? The answer is pretty obvious, a big no. Does that mean one should never bring up a point that contradicts another? One should, but gently and tactfully, by saying something neutral such as based on my information. If the other person is argumentative, even if you can prove him wrong, is it worth it? I don't think so. Do you make your point a second time? I wouldn't. Why? Because the argument is coming from a closed mind trying to prove who is right rather than what is right. For example, at a social get together, especially after a few drinks, someone may say authoritatively, the current year's export figures are 50 billion. You happen to know that his information is incorrect and the right figure is 45 billion. You read it in the paper that morning or you heard it on the radio on the way to the get together and you have a bulletin in your car to substantiate it. Do you make your point? Yes, by saying my information is that the export figure is 45 billion. The other person reacts. You don't know what you are talking about. I know exactly what it is and it is 50 billion. At this point, you have several choices. Make your point again and start an argument. Run and bring the bulletin from your car and make sure you prove him wrong. Discuss but don't argue. Avoid it. The right choices are number 3 and 4. If one wants to accomplish great things in has life has to practice maturity. Maturity means not getting entangled in unimportant things and petty arguments. What is the difference between an argument and a discussion? An argument throws heat, light. One stems from ego and a closed mind, whereas the other comes from an open mind. An argument is an exchange of ignorance, whereas a discussion is an exchange of knowledge. An argument is an expression of temper, whereas a discussion is an expression of logic. An argument tries to prove who is right, whereas a discussion tries to prove what is right. It is not worthwhile to reason with a prejudiced mind. It wasn't reasoned into him, so you can reason it out. A narrow mind and a big mouth usually lead to pointless argument. In order to discuss, let the other person state his side of the case without interruption. Let him proceed. Don't try to prove him wrong or every point. Never let him drag you to his level. Treat him with courtesy and respect that will confuse him. Regardless of the cost, the best way to diffuse the situation is to give a patient hearing, not fight back or retaliate. Not fighting back will confuse the other person because he was expecting a fight. Not expect an apology. For some people, apologizing is difficult even if they have made a mistake. Not make it make not make issues out of petty matters. Discussion